Hey, everybody, John Harris back with you with my pal Billy Smith. We are in the cheap seats. Once again, we kind of taken late spring and summer off since the NFL ended with a terrific Super Bowl. Um, really tough one for me. Kansas City and Philly, my two favorite teams, battled each other. First time ever in a Super Bowl. And it was tough, I'm telling you, for me to watch. But it was really a good game. Finally, it's a rarity that Super Bowls live up to their expectations, but that one was a really good game, Bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And you couldn't go wrong with either one. So it was a
Yeah,
great
but
Super Bowl.
but you could go wrong with either one. That's my problem. I didn't bet on it because I just couldn't. I haven't really bet on anything in a while. That might change this year a little bit. We'll see. I might go online and do a little bit of what you do just for fun sometimes. But we'll go from there. And Gizmo's over here giving me this "don't go bet" warning. He's all right, buddy. We'll talk about it. But the interesting NFL offseason, as they call it now, the hot stove, which they've always used for baseball. Um, Big story is probably, there were a couple of them, but the biggest one is probably Aaron Rodgers going from Green Bay to the Jets.
Yeah, that's
Think about that one, Bill.
I think it helps the Jets. I mean, he's definitely an upgrade. Whether how much of an upgrade, I'm not sure, but it's definitely better than what the Jets already had the past few years.
Oh yeah, yeah. That part's for sure. It's a matter of are they surrounding him with weapons? I guess they're getting the one receiver back. Is it Hall? He was injured.
Well, he was a running back. Brees Hall's the running back.
Oh, Brees Hall's a running back. They had a
I
receiver
think
too.
they have Wilson as a
Oh, Wilson.
receiver,
That's who it was. Wilson.
and I
And
can't
didn't they
remember the other
sign
receiver.
uh Cobb? They signed somebody. I
Yeah,
think
I think
Randall Cobb was gonna retire. And then when um I almost called him Favre. When Roger signed with the Jets, I think he got a hold of him and talked him out of retiring and said, just come join us. So I think he's going to be there like a third or a possession receiver or something. I think the Jets are trying to surround them with weapons because they already have a good D.
hmm yeah, they got
So
good defense, and Bryce and Brees Hall, if he does come back as if he performs like he did before he left with the knee injury, he'll be really good.
yeah, I think they could be very tough. It would be with between them and Buffalo in that division. Um, Buffalo to me is still the team you got to look up to right now. Um, See, Tyreek Hill might be in a little bit of trouble with the law with some altercation in Vegas, I think.
Yeah,
So
these knuckleheads.
big loss for Miami if so, but we don't know what's going to happen there yet. But apparently there's video of him in an altercation with somebody. I don't think there was a gun involved, but it was still an assault and all this other stuff. So the two things you worry about as soon as you hear football player and police are domestic violence and gun. Well, any
hmm
sports is domestic violence and gun. If it's not those two things, well, he could still face a stiff NFL suspension if it's found out that he could have avoided it and should have. So see what
Yeah,
happens there. But
yeah.
Miami could be kind of tough too. Um, I see it shaking out as Buffalo and the Jets, and then um, Miami, New England, and all the top three may all make the playoffs. Miami to me would be on the bubble, but that's just such early speculation. I'm sure we'll have our official picks in a few weeks. But
Yeah, no doubt. Yep.
yeah. Um, uh, Odell Beckham signs with Baltimore because the big play there, the number two or three story is at least Lamar Jackson re-signing with the Ravens. You're a Ravens fan, so what do you think of that?
Um, I mean,
You're not. You're more of a Colts and a Redskins fan.
yeah, I'm a Colt. Yeah, I'm Colt. But the thing with first of all comes if Jackson comes back healthy enough,
Right.
and he's not the most accurate, but Beckham does make some unbelievable catches.
Oh, yeah.
But Beckham's lost a step or two. So I mean,
Yeah. But he's a step up from what they had. And I'm sure
oh,
they.
absolutely, absolutely.
Here's my question for you, Bill. See what you think of this. I think I don't think he worked out for Dallas because Jerry Jones wanted him. But if I'm not mistaken, he
Yeah,
did not
I don't
work
believe
out
he.
for anybody.
Yeah, I don't believe so either.
So we don't really know how healthy he is. And there was something said that he wasn't 100% yet, and that's why he didn't want to work out. Now supposedly he'll be 100%, like preseason time or whatever.
Mhm.
But what is 100%? Is that 100% healed or 100% of Odell Beckham?
Right,
Big difference. Could be
big.
huge difference. I mean, does he still have that pull away speed that he used to have? If he has that in those hands, Baltimore's going to be tough.
Hmm.
If they have a receiver on the other side, that's the other catch. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
right now it's
I mean, you got to look at
the other guy, the
Scott's
other guy that was always injured too. So they got a bunch of injured players. I don't.
Hollywood Brown. Is he still there, or he moved? Didn't he
No,
to
he was in Arizona.
Arizona
He was in
last?
Arizona. Yeah,
So they have Mark Andrews, the tight end, who's a really good tight end.
that will help Andrews a lot so that
Yeah,
you don't get
you have
double
a
teamed.
couple decent running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield. Is it Gus Edwards
Edwards and Dobbins.
and Dobbins? But if they don't have a good wideout on the other side, it doesn't have to be all pro, but somebody to make them cover, not double cover Odell. Um, it could still be kind of tough. But you got Jackson who makes things happen.
Yeah,
I mean, you
if
look
he's
at
healthy
that.
enough.
Yeah,
I mean,
if
I
he,
think he missed what 3/4 of the year last year and
yeah,
missed half a season the year before or something.
yep. So he can get dinged up a little bit easy, but he hangs in there. He does heal up and eventually get back on the field. So we'll see what happens. Houston is trying to make a run with draft picks and a couple signings. Um, Tennessee, I think Derrick Henry is a free agent. He might be a franchise tag kind of player, but
I believe so.
I think he's a free agent. And they drafted a quarterback, but I think they're not starting him. They're still going to start. I think Tannehill is still there for one more year. I'm not sure on that one. So we're going to check on some things for you before we come back next time,
Mhm.
and give you details on some of these big time things. I mean, the Raiders now, who's their quarterback?
Well, they got Jimmy G.
Yeah, but Jimmy G is hurt. They don't really have him yet because
Yeah.
they went to sign him and he failed the physical. And supposedly they're waiting to see if his surgically healed foot is actually healed. But he just had the surgery fairly recently.
Hmm.
So they don't know if he'd be ready for the season opener. And just as he was going to sign when he failed the physical, I mean, Vegas had the press conference set and everything. Reporters were in the room and they got the results and said, come back tomorrow and see if we have news for you. No news yet. And this was like
No, no.
3 weeks to a month ago. So technically, they don't have a quarterback yet. They're looking at Jimmy G. I'm sure they'll sign him if they can get some assurances about the leg. He might have to work out for him. Uh, they might have to figure out some insurance thing because apparently that ankle injury is pretty bad.
Hmm.
So right now, and I don't even think they have Jared Stidham anymore. I think he's a free agent, or he signed as a backup with somebody, one or the
Yeah,
other.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not sure who's next in line.
Yeah, I don't know who the Raiders quarterback's going to be. So that could be tough. The Chiefs backup quarterback, Chad Henne, retired. So they did sign, I can't remember. It's terrible, but I can't remember who they signed. Of course, in that division, Russell Wilson's still in Seattle. new offensive
Denver.
coordinator under new
He's
head
with
coach.
Denver. He's with
In
Denver.
Denver, what did I say? Seattle. I
Yeah.
apologize. In Denver, and you still got Herbert with the Chargers, so that's going to be tough. Then you got the little Jamar Chase, Patrick Mahomes Twitter thing, where Chase was trying to say that Burrow was better or whatever. But then Mahomes didn't say anything except at Chase, not at Burrow. When Chase said it, he was reminded that Burrow said that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. And then Chase went, Patrick who? Bad move. Because then Mahomes put on his 2 Super Bowl rings, which of course Chase does not have, and posted a picture again responding to him in Twitter going, this Patrick. And he's got the 2 rings on. And then Travis Kelce jumped in there too and said, don't mess with Mahomes, man. You're messing with the wrong guy. Worst thing to do for them guys is to give each other fire, it's football. This guy, that's a bad move. If they go to play again, they're going to stick around Mahomes, But Chase probably stepped in it, He probably shouldn't have done that. But and I'm sure people on his team are like, dude, what the hell?
What are you doing?
Dude, shut up. So that's going to be interesting. Cleveland doesn't look like they've gotten any better. I don't even know who's doing what for Cleveland. I mean, Watson, I'm sure, is still the quarterback, but
Yeah,
once he got hurt, that was it.
they still got Chubb. They got
they got Chubb. Who they got at receiver?
the receivers. They got the ex guy from the Cowboys, Amari Cooper.
Oh, Amari Cooper. That's right.
Yeah.
But he's not the speedster he was. He's more of a
No,
number
no.
2, if anything.
And I think they might have picked up somebody else, but I can't. It's
Yeah.
going blank with
I am.
names here.
Well, we've been on hiatus, so there's a lot to cover when we get really rolling again. But we got some stuff to talk about here. Holy moly. All right. This is a mess. Costs for my house are going up, as they should, but I'm like, yikes. So the NFL is pretty much, I mean, you're looking in the NFC. I can't see. I mean, you got Philly. They're pretty good. I don't think the Rams are going to be as good as they were 2 years ago still. I think they're still hurting a little bit on offense. Arizona's not, to me, doesn't show me anything.
It's like Cole McCoy's going to be Cole McCoy's going to, I don't think Murray's going to be ready. So Cole McCoy.
Oh, really? So McCoy's going to be starting, and him, he gets hurt. Even when he starts playing well, he gets banged up and he's done. Yeah. Minnesota doesn't, they lose if they don't figure out a way to get Dalvin Cook back. They're done, to me.
Madison's not bad, but he's not.
He's not Dalvin Cook.
No.
You still got Jefferson though.
They got Jefferson, and they got a receiver, real good receiver, in the draft, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Somebody. What was I going to tell you? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. You know who I think people better still watch out for is Detroit.
Yeah.
I think they're coming. Now, I think this year they'll make the playoffs. They'll be in the hunt for the division, probably with Minnesota. I think Green Bay, unless Jordan Love proves us wrong right out the gate,
I don't see that.
They're in a semi-rebuild mode, and the Bears are.
The Bears.
The Bears are more.
But pretty interesting though. Fields when he's playing makes him a little more interesting.
I think the Bears losing David Montgomery to free agency hurts them.
Yeah,
stayed in the division, didn't he? I think he with Detroit.
I think he went to Detroit because Detroit lost Swift.
Because Detroit lost Swift to Philly, so which is a good move for Philly. I don't think they're going to use him hard, but they're going to use him. They got a couple. Now they lost Sanders, though I don't know where Sanders signed. He did sign somewhere. So they lost him. Saquon Barkley in New York hasn't signed yet. So that'll be interesting to see if he goes back to New York for another season or not. Washington, your Commanders, I think are going to be in flux this year because they're going to have new ownership at some point, which is good news. But this might be a year that they're going to have to transition because it hasn't happened yet, all the official stuff yet.
Right.
They're going to start off with a young quarterback, it looks like. Did they keep Heineke as a backup or did he go?
No, Heineke left.
I think that's going to cause a problem. Because who do they have to go back to? I think they signed some.
They got the rookie from last year, Hal.
That's who's going to start, right?
Yeah, that's who's going to start. And
They didn't draft a quarterback, I don't think. Or if they did, it's like
no, they actually also signed Jacoby Brissett.
yes, that's right. They did. They signed Jacoby Brissett. You're right. So I think Washington, though they've got a couple weapons, I don't see that they can put up enough offense to stay with a lot of people.
Yeah, and Chase Young can't stay healthy either.
No, he can't stay healthy, so that hurts too. Matter of fact, I thought they were thinking of cutting him, and they may
Yeah,
have.
at one point, yeah, I don't think they have, but I think at one point
Okay.
they were.
Or either that or it'll be after this season because he's still in his rookie contract, I think. Once he would start to cost you money, if he doesn't finish a whole season this year, I think Washington's got to let him go.
Mm-hmm.
So see what happens there. Then you look at we looked out west. San Francisco is going to be tough again, depending on who quarterback is. They're saying if Purdy is healthy, he will probably get the start.
Yeah.
And they signed a backup, but you still also have Trey Lance, who they were hoping would be ready to go. But how do you tell Purdy he can't start when he got you to the championship? You know? And let's face it, that would have been a lot different game against Philadelphia if he didn't get hurt.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I'm an
He
Eagles
played.
fan.
Yeah, he's played more. Purdy played more games
Trey Lance,
than
yeah.
than Lance combined the 2 years. I think he
Yeah.
four games and then two. I think what, two last year or something like that.
Lance, yeah, before he got hurt. He was either got hurt in the first game or the second game. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
and I think he got. And I think he played like 4 games the year before. So
Yeah. And then Jimmy G stepped in, then Jimmy G got hurt. So
yep.
um so yeah, that's gonna be something to watch too. Then like we said, Arizona's not really gonna amount to anything. Seattle was improving. They might make the playoffs. Unless San Francisco has quarterback problems, Seattle could be in there. Again, they might sneak into the playoffs at least. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. You got Tampa Bay. I think isn't Baker Mayfield going to be the starter there?
Yeah, Baker Mayfield. Terrible.
Oh, that's just that's just terrible. Special guest star Charles Barkley with your football analysis. What do you think of Baker Mayfield as the starter in Tampa Bay? That's terrible. That's just terrible.
They have no Leonard Fournette, and
Yeah.
last I heard, they were trying to shop the
Evans,
receiver Mike Evans.
Evans. Well, if they shop him, they better get a lot. And they probably
Mm-hmm.
won't. They'll probably get draft picks or something. And probably just try to save the salary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't. Who's going to be the starter in New Orleans?
New Orleans Derek Carr.
That's right, Derek Carr got signed, so he's going to the Saints.
That'd be that. I think that's a good fit for him.
I think so. I think it's a good fit for both sides.
I
That
think the
could work
Saints will
pretty
win that
well.
division. I think they win that division easily because
You
their
think
defense is pretty
so?
good and they got good receivers when
Yeah,
they're healthy.
yeah, that's true when they're healthy. Then you got Carolina. They fought hard the end of the season, but they didn't keep Wilkes, who got them fighting hard the second half of the year. So now
Yeah,
it's
and
going to be tricky, but it's Frank Reich there now.
yeah, and DJ Moore, their top receiver, is not there. So I don't.
He's not there, right?
Nah, DJ Moore went to maybe he went to Chicago. I'm not sure.
Yeah. See, there's teams that a lot of these guys wouldn't. Let me see. I'm going to look it up just to see, like you said, where he went. But either way, it hurts Carolina. Um, and I think he was traded. Yeah, Bears now.
Yeah, Bears.
Yep, the Bears.
That
Yep,
helps Fields. That should be really
traded
good.
to the Bears. So, yep. So you got that out there too. And they're going to start the kid they drafted, I think. I think Frank Reich come out and said, as of right now, he's our number one. So maybe Frank Reich is like, well, you never know. He does know things about quarterbacks, except the Carson Wentz experiment in Indy was, I think he was hoping to catch lightning in a bottle because Wentz was desperate to try to look good, and he never.
Right, and
His numbers weren't bad, but in the clutch, he could not deliver. He just couldn't.
nah,
Yeah, he was never the quarterback he was that first 3 quarters of a season in Philadelphia before he got hurt. He's never
mhm.
come back to that level. Whether it's he tries too hard and it's mental, or there is a physical issue, or a little bit of both. Either way, he's never got back to that level. So
Yeah, and I don't think he signed with anybody. But I tell you what, if I'm the 49ers, I'd look at him because if you don't have
they
those
signed
three
Darnold.
quarterbacks.
Remember, they signed Darnold too.
Oh, that's right. They got Darnold. So yeah.
You've got Purdy, Lance, and Darnold.
Oh yeah. So yeah, they're fine.
Oh, they're fine. I don't know who else would benefit. Maybe the Commanders. If this kid doesn't work out, you might need somebody to go up there and plug a hole for a year.
Yeah, but they already went that route. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I'm just saying, if it gets to be a desperation mode.
yeah.
Yeah. And I thought somebody was going to give Josh Johnson a chance again. I thought I read that somewhere too. He's only
Actually, maybe he went to what team were we talking about earlier? He might have signed with the Raiders.
that might be. He's been with them before. Well, I think he's been with just about every team before. He's been around.
Yeah, he's been on a third of the teams.
Josh Johnson, no, he's with Baltimore.
Oh, Baltimore.
He went to the Ravens as a backup, which is probably not a bad move because their backups last year were terrible. They were awful.
Oh yeah.
But with the way Jackson gets hurt, I mean, Johnson's not a star, but he's better than what they'd have as a backup. So, um, yeah, it's that's ugly. Gee. So, um, the NFL looks for now like it's going to be the same old players, but from last year. I don't mean same old down the hill. I think Philly will win the East. Dallas might give them a little run. The Giants without Barkley won't give them a run, I don't think. Um, and I don't think the Commanders are going to do that well because they're just too much in flux this year.
Mhm.
Look at the South, like you said, I think it's New Orleans all the way. Um, Carolina might take a step back this year because they're rebuilding with a rookie quarterback. Tampa Bay isn't going to do very well, and neither is Carolina. So, and Atlanta's going to be defensive based and try to run the ball.
Yeah.
So they'll probably be a 500 team, but that's about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think NFC, you're looking at the Niners again if they get a healthy quarterback. With Philly, I give Detroit props. I think Detroit's going to make the playoffs. Seattle might make the playoffs. Uh, Other than those three or four, maybe Minnesota.
Mhm.
I think I think they might squeak in the playoffs, but I think Detroit might win that division. Uh,
Yeah, they got a real good chance.
when it gets close, that might be my Central Division, or well, it's not Central, it's NFC North or something.
Yeah, the
I
North.
think, yep. I think the Rams are 50-50. I think they're a 500 team at best. Arizona's awful, or going to be. Seattle's probably going to be pretty good. So when you look at all that, and then you look at the AFC, I think you're talking Kansas City again, Buffalo again. The Jets
Pretty much the same teams. Yeah.
Buffalo might make a run. Cincinnati, Baltimore. You're right, pretty much the same teams. Uh, Miami could squeak in to make the postseason, but I don't think they're going to go very far. They're going to be all offense again, I think.
Mhm.
If Tyreek Hill doesn't, end up with a big suspension. Cincinnati's going to be tough. Tennessee, I think it depends on the Derrick Henry saga. If they can keep him, then they got a shot to at least get back in the playoffs. Other than that, I don't see anybody really.
Jackson will be up
Yeah, Jacksonville, that's true. Jacksonville, and I think the sleeper could be Pittsburgh. If they get another receiver, or if one of these receivers looks pretty good for Pickett, then they might have something
there. I think they picked up. They got somebody too.
as a receiver,
Well, they had the rookie last year, and
right?
then I think
You
they
have
got
Johnson, right? Did they keep him
what's
to
that?
Monte Johnson?
I think they still might have him, but they got somebody I can't remember. Not Smith Schuster. No, I can't think right
That's a pick, Keanu Benton. I want to see who they
now.
signed.
Oops, it sucks getting old, people. You can't remember shit.
It does because we know it and then we forget it. Pittsburgh Steelers signings. Let's see if they got anybody. Who just signed with the Steelers? It says. Running back Darius Higgins. You got an offensive lineman. They waived some guys from the second and third team, so it doesn't. This goes free agents for the Steelers. Who they release? I don't think anybody.
They didn't sign nobody.
Uh, no, Cody Crest. Nobody knows. He's an unrestricted free
Well,
agent.
Smith Schuster, I think, went to New England.
Yeah, he left Kansas City. I think you're right. I think he went to New England. But the Chiefs are kind of loaded at receiver. And now they signed James, who they got from the Giants last year, and everybody thinks he's going to have a breakout year in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
But, he was hurt and then never got a shot with the Giants. And they got
Mm-hmm.
him a few balls in the postseason.
Yep.
Chiefs lost Hardman too.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember where he went, but yeah, they lost
Oh, yeah,
him.
hard. Yeah, hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So you look at the last couple of years, they lost Hill. Then they thought Hardman would pick up the slack for Hill, and now they're cutting him. But they really like James, and you still got Kelsey, and they've when it comes to offense, I don't have a problem doubting the Chiefs. I don't even think they signed Hilaire because at the end of the season they didn't even use him again.
Well, I think he was still under contract,
Yeah, but I thought they traded him
but
or did something. I'm gonna look. I don't think he's with the Chiefs anymore. Either that or he's not going to be, one or the other.
yeah, I think he might not.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is he's still with the Chiefs,
Yeah.
according to this anyway. He's only 24.
And where did Hardman go?
Let's see.
And that was I think pretty sure he stayed in the AFC.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mark Cole.
Did he go to the Jets?
Yes,
Yeah, he went to the Jets. So
he went to the Jets, so they do have a threat, and not just to. And he's only 25.
mhm.
Blair's only 24. Andy Reid said he looks healthy and is ready to go, so they may hang on to him.
Well, they got Pacheco. I think
Right,
he's
and they
going to be
still
the
have
lead
Pacheco.
guy there.
So, well, the Chiefs always have one or two, more than one good running back.
Hmm.
Pacheco runs tough, doesn't he? Man,
Yeah.
he runs tough. Um, So I still like Kansas City's makeup. I think everybody thought the Chargers would give them a run for their money, but they kind of folded down the end, which is typical for the Chargers, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, I think they the injury bug got them
Yeah,
mostly.
yeah, I think so. And that's why I think that still could be a tough division for Kansas City with the Chargers, with Denver if they improve a little bit. And you never know about the Raiders. If they get themselves a real quarterback, whether it's Jimmy G or somebody else, they could have problems. Now, Darren
Hmm.
Waller went from Vegas to the Giants.
Giants.
That could help the Giants. It should, because he's really a good tight end.
Hmm.
So that's going to be interesting. Um, but yeah, I see it being between Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, kind of as the big three in that conference. Maybe San Diego. Everybody else is okay. Baltimore might be in that hunt if Beckham and Jackson are healthy, but they're two big ifs. If either one isn't, it could be a problem again. But let's face it, Jackson, when healthy, can almost single-handedly beat a team. I mean,
Yeah.
It's tough to stop. But when it gets closer, we'll always obviously have some conjecture, and there'll be more news to come out before then. Before we go to our next sport, let us discuss our sponsor, my
There you
friend
go.
Valdi at Vineland Realty Corp. We thanks Dennis. We haven't been on in a while in any podcast, so we want to make sure that Dennis gets the recognition him and his folks deserve it. 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey, 856-690-9482 for all of your real estate needs. And if Dennis can't help you, they will find someone that can. They have all kinds of resources, whether it's for a business transaction, business realty transaction, residential, whether you want to rent, you want to buy, you want to rent something out, you want to sell a property. Give the folks at Vineland Realty a call. My pal Dennis Ingraldi, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey, at 856-690-9482. And Dennis and the crew, Helen is Girl Friday, I like to say, and the folks will help you out down there. It's a great group of people, and they'll do everything they can to help you out. So that's again Vineland Realty Corporation, 856-690-9482. And we thank Dennis for helping us out with all the Public John podcasts. Getting ready to do a few of those again. The Public John is going to start back up, I think, at least once a month, the original. We're working on a big time murder case, and cooking up a murder is coming back. So, working on the logistics for Public John Radio. We're moving to Public John Studios. So that's been kind of the hold up with some of this stuff too, to a completely different location. That'll be when we start up Public John Radio, which is going to be a lot of fun, I think. So, but back to the topics at hand, since we've been on hiatus. The NBA, a couple teams underperformed, a couple teams overperformed. I think the Lakers got further than everybody thought. The Heat got a lot further than everybody thought, getting to the conference finals. Philadelphia had a shot once they beat Boston, but then they fell apart, took the big choke, I guess you'd say. That's why Miami ended up in the conference finals, I believe, because I think they could have beaten Miami if they'd gotten past Boston. It was right because they were up on Boston.
Yeah.
The choke.
But you got props to Denver Nuggets.
Yes, they deserve the championship.
I think that was their first championship.
It is. It's the very first one. They didn't even
and
win
I
the NBA championship.
and I think they had the real MVP in the Joker.
I think you're right.
All around better player.
Yep. And I admit, Joker said the right thing. He's going, you know what? The MVP for the playoffs is a lot more meaningful than the one for the regular season. And he's right. Let's face it. So props to Denver, and they're keeping their team intact, it looks like, mostly. So, watch out. The Bears coming back.
Yeah, he did. He got like, I believe the last I saw, he had close to 30 triple doubles in the season. So you're talking like a little over a third of the
Third of the
season
game. More than a third of the game.
that
35.
he got triple doubles, and that to me, that just
Unbelievable. 40, and they weren't like 10-point triple doubles. They're like 30, 35, 40. I mean, and he's getting 20 rebounds a game. Yeah, I mean, him and Murray, it's like the old Malone Stockton pick and roll. You know it's coming, but you can't stop it.
can't stop it.
So and you gotta love, I love the way they play. I like the way Brett Jokic plays. 100% every play. Well coached. Malone knows what buttons to push. So it'll be interesting. And it'll be interesting to see where some of these teams go. Philly, of course, hired Nick Nurse, who ironically was the team that beat them the last time they went to the Eastern Conference Finals with Toronto, and that was the season Toronto won the whole thing. So the team that knocked the Sixers out and won the championship, their coach is now going to coach Philadelphia, which is interesting because now they're talking about maybe trading Tobias Harris, which they've been talking about for a couple of years.
And I think they should.
Yeah, they probably should. I think they're undecided on signing James Harden. I think it all depends if he's trying to get a max. I don't give him a max long term.
No.
Because he's 38, I think, or something. So, and he busts up a little bit easy too, but he can take over a game.
Well, yeah, he
But he
needs to be
doesn't
on a
like he
team
used to, right?
where he's the number one, and that's the whole thing. He's not a
There's been a lot
secondary
of talk
player.
that he'll sign with Houston because that's where his home is, and he did like playing there. So there's a shot that if that happens, that'll free up a lot of money for Philly, and they can sign somebody else. So that makes it interesting. The Boston trade, the three-way trade, sends Marcus Smart to. He doesn't go to Washington. Where did he go? The Clippers? Whoever the third team was.
Smarco, yeah, he went out west. Was it the Clippers
Oh no, wasn't it Phoenix?
or Phoenix? Yes, Phoenix. Yes.
Yeah, he goes to Phoenix. Boston gets Bradley. No, and where did Bradley Beal go? He went out west too, right? With
Bradley Beal went out to.
I think he went somewhere. I think he might have he went somewhere, and then Washington gets Smart. And wait a minute, I'm gonna look this trade up because now you're right.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
memory
because
too, because
there was another one that was going to happen where the Porzingis was going to go to Boston, but that fell through.
I thought he did go.
I think that would have been a
Oh
heck
yeah,
of a trade.
I thought last night they said he went. He did go. Let's see. Warriors are going to finalize a deal to get Chris Paul. So right, Chris Paul went from Phoenix to Washington, who were going to cut him.
Right. And then they got Washington got Jordan Poole, who's a lot younger and a
Like
heck of a
Jordan
player.
Poole.
I don't know why Golden State would do that deal,
Yeah, I understand. What's the latest trade? Why did Warriors? They actually traded to Washington for Paul. Clippers at no. I want the new one. All right, you know what? That one's not showing me. I'll try a different website here. And let's see what happens. I'm going to put Porzingis in first. Yeah, he went to Boston. He still went. I think there was some stuff to sort out in the beginning. But it looks like
I think that's a good piece for Boston.
Oh God, yeah, I think
Real
that's
good piece.
Trade. Let's see. Details for all. Let's see. Problem is, you always got to sort through a bunch of stuff. Christoph Porzingis, Marcus Smart trade. So what they're going all over the place here. Somehow the Hawks were involved. Boston, oh, that says maybe. I love it when they say trade and then they put proposal,
Yeah.
small letters, or maybe or something. Yeah, Boston trades down again for the draft. I just want the friggin', you can't ever get what you ask for without going through a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
But Porzingis did go to Boston.
Okay.
So Smart does go to, it looks like Washington, which I thought he was going out west.
Yeah, but Beal and then Beal ended up going.
No, Marcus Smart went to Memphis. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, Beal went to let's
Oh,
see.
he went to Phoenix because you got him and Devin Booker in the backfield. Oh my
Right,
goodness.
the backcourt. Yep. Chris
Yeah. Oh
Paul
my.
went to Washington to get traded to
Warriors, Golden State.
yes, Golden State. So he's going to be in there with Klay Thompson and of course Steph Curry.
Yeah. That
I think
backcourt.
I think Thompson might, now that Poole's gone, Thompson might go to small forward. And
Probably.
remember, they probably won't play Chris Paul 30, 35 minutes a game. He might only play 20, 25 minutes a game. So they could become,
Where I would
again,
have kept.
keep,
That's where I would have kept Poole. You know, I don't know.
yeah, because Poole's younger. But I think that's a signal that they're going to keep Draymond Green, because there was talk about him not re-signing or him
I let
going.
him go. He's a bum.
Yeah, he's over. Great defense.
He's a bum.
He talks so much.
He averages like 6 points, six
Yeah,
boards, and four assists or something.
yeah, and a technical every game. Yeah,
Yeah, and a techno every game.
and 4 fouls minimum. Yeah, he beats people up. So, but some teams need that. They need a guy
Yeah,
that'll
they
do
want that physicality. Yeah,
right. And I think that's what he supplied for the Warriors for a long time, is they didn't have anybody else that was physical. I would let him go, even though I let Poole go. That punch in the face when he punched Poole, I'm sure to this day it divided that locker room,
oh yeah, no doubt.
because they just figure he's a bully, and he is. So, you
Yeah,
know what?
Draymond, we're calling you out, bitch.
Throwing you out. But you know what? You know where he'd look good? Where do you think I think he'd look good at?
Philly.
I think so. I think he'd take a lot of pressure off of Embiid physically under the boards. And I, if I could find a trade, I'd because I think he's a free agent, and I would then go ahead and trade Tobias Harris for somebody. But he could probably bang some bodies in Philly,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he'd fit in well with the East Coast. I think he'd give some guys in Boston a little physicality. I think that could make that whole division really interesting. Uh, he wouldn't take no crap from the Knicks. You know, it'd be like, come on into my house. This blue paint, come on in. Uh, he's as close to the old Bad Boys Pistons or Rick Mahorn era as
Yeah, yeah,
he's as close as you're going to get, I think. But you're right. I think Golden State should just let him go, or if
yeah.
he's free agent.
And if they do, I think he may go to the Lakers. There was
That's
talk that he'll
some of the
stay out.
talk of that,
Yeah.
And as much as I really don't like the Lakers, I just don't. Yeah, LeBron James is one of the best players ever. I just don't like him. But I think he would be, in all honesty, I think he'd be a great fit in LA, because he'd take pressure off AD as well onto the boards. So I think you're right about that. I think he could really help the Lakers. in that regard. I think he'd help Philly. I still think he'd help Golden State if he stayed with them, but not. I think Golden State should cut their losses. He'd really, I think, bump up Sacramento, who's no slouch anymore. The Kings are a pretty good team. And he might be one of them guys that could really bump and grind in there and really help them out. And you know who I think should look at him a little bit? This might sound far-fetched to you. I think to maybe protect in the first year or two, I think San Antonio could sign him, and it would help Victor Wembanyama, the new first-round pick, who is of slender build. And to me, I think that could help Victor a little bit to get his footing and get him established, you know. But who knows how far the Spurs want to go with that. I think he could help them, but there's only 3 or 4 teams I think he could really benefit from, so, or benefit to. But the NBA is going to be interesting. Couple coaching changes, like we said, Nick Nurse in Philly. Milwaukee's got a new coach. I think he was an assistant somewhere. So it's going to be interesting. Couple coaching changes. Doc Rivers hasn't been hired anywhere yet. I got a feeling he won't be at this point. I don't know who for, who would hire him at this point, because of this point in the off season. Because usually once you're done the draft, you kind of know who your coaching staff is going to be and what your philosophy is. And that's part of why you draft your players and draft players around them. So we'll see what happens. Does he stay in the league? Where'd you go, buddy? You still there? Bill? There you are. I don't hear you though.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Oh, there you are,
Somebody
but
tried
you're
to
real
call me
low.
and I did-
Your volume's low. You can't hear me at all?
No, I hear you on the phone, but not through my buds.
Okay. I can hear you, but you're real low. Your volume's low. I might be able to turn it up so I can still hear you, but let's see. There we go.
How's that?
Yeah, it's a little louder, only because I turned it up at my end. I turned your volume up, so,
Okay.
but I can hear you.
Yeah, I had a phone call come in and I declined it, and I don't know why. I could. You're real low too, so I don't know what the heck happened.
I don't know. It's well, we'll get through this. That about wraps up the NBA anyway. So hockey, you've probably paid a little more attention to that than I have. I was shocked that Boston got beat, even though it is the trend, because they were on a roll, and then Florida, I guess, took care of them.
Yeah, I was surprised with that. And
Yeah,
tell you what, Florida, what were they, the 8th seed, and they just went through.
yeah,
I mean, they came up a little short at the end, but
yeah,
congrats to the Golden Knights.
yeah. Give props to Vegas, and their owner said 6 years, and it's exactly 6 years of existence, and they win. And let's face it, they went to the finals the first year, so they've been a threat ever since they got in the league. They did it right. They picked players and drafted players in the expansion draft and in the rookie draft that fit their team, rather than let's get the best player ever. Let's get the best player that fits our team. And boy, they did that, and they looked really good. I just wonder if the Boston Vegas series would have been a little better if Boston played well, but they
Oh
didn't get
yeah,
there. They
well,
didn't deserve it.
I think that would have been a phenomenal series. That would
Yep,
have been
I think it would
really
have been
fun to
great.
watch.
So, and hot goalie again, Hill for Vegas, really played well.
Yep.
And again, that old story, the hot goalie get you there. So, congratulations to them. I see some teams are making some changes. Philly's one of them. Your team.
Yeah, the Flyers are going to be in rebuild mode.
the former Flyer player who,
He's bringing in a couple extra flyers to help him along. So
yeah,
we'll see if it works. It hasn't worked in a while, so we'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
we'll see what happens. So that's going to be interesting. See if Boston fights back or if the season took the heart out of them. See if anybody makes any changes. So it'll be interesting to see, like you said.
Laviette went to the Rangers. So that's a nice
Yeah.
move up there.
Yeah, I did see that, and that's a good signing as a coach. I mean, I like Tortorella in Philly, but you got to give him players, like any coach. But Laviolette's going to walk into a pretty decent deal. I mean, they might be a player or two away from really becoming something again. They're pretty close. Better season last year the Rangers had than I think a lot of people thought where they were going to have. So again, it's going to be interesting. Vegas is still loaded. Florida's better than they thought. Tampa Bay is pretty good still. You got the Rangers. Pittsburgh struggled. But they struggled, I think, because of injuries, and their guys are getting old in Pittsburgh. Malkin's old, Crosby's getting up there. So they're getting older. So I mean, take a look at and Edmonton might be coming. I mean, they got a couple of young guys. So
They got studs on offense. It's just they
yeah,
need a defender.
they need a couple defenders. Yep, and maybe a decent backup goalie, or even a frontline goalie. But yeah, that's going to be tough out there too. But we'll go and see what happens from there. Then there's Major League Baseball, buddy. And that's somewhat interesting. Ohtani is still just putting up numbers from both sides that are unbelievable. Like, I'm not even sure the guy is human. I mean, and now the Angels are in the hunt, so they've come out and said, we're not trading him, we're keeping him. And I think that's the right move. If they can get Trout, I think he's playing hurt, Trout. I really do. He hasn't been the same since the back injury last year. I think if they can figure out a way to get him some rest, and he can at least somewhat recover, turn it around, I think the Angels could give the Rangers a run for their money. I did see this past week again a couple plays at the plate, just awful review calls. Texas was the victim of one of them, where the runner was called out and it got reversed because they said the catcher, beautiful throw, one hop, catcher makes the tag, and they said they didn't give the runner an avenue to the plate when they did. He had a path to home plate. They reviewed it in New York and changed the call, and Bruce Bochy went nuts. And of course, ended up getting tossed and everything. Then there was one last night. Was it Cincinnati? Somebody got Washington, Davey Martinez. If you get a chance, take a look at that one. He went old school because they reversed the call at the plate on a play. And he came out and he did all the old school arguing when he got ejected. I mean, he went to home plate and literally went on the ground, all fours, and put dirt on home plate. He just went ballistic. And there was one in San Diego. I think that might have been the same game, but no, I don't think it was. San Diego, Tatis threw out. It looked like, and I'm not a Tatis guy. He was in right field. He's playing right field. Looked like he threw out a guy and they overturned it. So the last few days, New York has just, like, outside of the spirit of the rule, I think. And the throw with the one with Texas took the catcher up the line a little bit. It was the throw, which in the rule says he's got a right to go do. He's got a right to go get the ball. And then he makes the tag. And he was out and they turned it. Oh, I thought Bruce Bochy was going to have a stroke right there. So that's something they're going to have to look at. When you look at how baseball is going, I don't think the Dodgers are doing as well as they thought, but they're not out of it yet. San Diego's okay, but Arizona was who was leading the division. So that's a surprise, but they're a gritty team. Florida's doing better than everybody thought. Philly's waking up. The Mets, that's who Philly passed. They passed the Mets for, I think, fourth place now in the division, but it's still pretty close. But the Phillies,
with the Mets, I know I think that was one of your favorites to win, but
I thought the Mets were gonna.
Those pitchers are old. They're old. I mean,
Yep, Verlander and Scherzer aren't. Oh, Verlander got hurt for a bit. Then Scherzer got hurt for a bit.
and
Now
his
they're both back, but they're neither one's really.
Yeah, Verlander's ERA is up close to 4. So I mean, that's not
Yeah,
that's double
yeah,
what it usually is, and
yep,
Scherzer,
yeah. You know, Steve Cohen, who spent all this money, has got to be just. If he wasn't bald already, he'd be pulling his hair out because it's not pretty in New York right now. The Yankees aren't doing well either. So I didn't expect the
Yankees
Yankees to
went
be
out,
that
which is
good.
good.
Without if
Feels
they
like
don't
they
have
haven't had.
Stan and Judge in the lineup, they're in trouble.
Yeah.
And right now, Judge has been out hurt.
My team, yeah, you got my team in second place.
Yeah, your team's playing well. Baltimore's playing very well.
They're like 20
Um,
games over 500, which is
yep,
of course I didn't bet on them this year. So.
of course not, right? But they're playing well. Um, the only problem with the O's is that they don't have a depth. So if a couple of their guys get hurt, they're in trouble. But that's something that comes with time. I mean, they've built themselves up. Now, if they can get a couple guys, you never know, trade deadline, maybe they can pick up a veteran or two to give them a little more depth, whether it's in the pitching staff or whether it's another position player, just some depth. They don't need a star. They don't need to clean the house and get a star, I don't think. I think they should look for a just an upgrade utility player or two, or an upgrade on the mound. Uh, not necessarily a star again, but somebody that'll eat some innings up and get you to their bullpen, which their bullpen's pretty good. But I really do like the Orioles. I think you're right. I think they're coming if they stay on this path. If ownership doesn't get involved and start trading pieces off for money again or to save money, if they can keep the Angelos occupied with something else outside of baseball, they got a shot at really being a good team for a while. So I hope that happens for them because they could use it. I like.
Yeah, I believe their AAA team is the best in the
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're one of the best minor league teams. I think when you look at it, I think Tampa is in the hunt as one of the best teams in the league. They're just brutal, and they do it the right way. Same thing. They don't blow a lot of money,
No
but
big
they
money.
find guys in the organization and bring them up. Orioles are a good young team. I think Toronto has been a little disappointing because they went all offense and their offense isn't performing the way they thought. Same with the Yankees. Garrett Cole, who I just don't like, but Garrett Cole's the only pitcher they have that's consistent. And the Sox are getting hurt by injuries again. Adam Duvall just missed a whole bunch of time. He's just coming back. Chris Sale is out again with a bad pitching arm. That he had Tommy John on it and was coming back from that. So if it's bad, you might lose him again for the season or longer. Their catcher got hurt the other night, Murphy. I think he got hit by a pitch. Something happened. Oh no, he swung, and you could see it right away. It looks like he pulled an oblique. I mean, they've got Wong, but he's not great. Probably gonna have to catch every day. Christian Arroyo just came back. He's starting to hit the ball a ton. He had 7 straight hits over 2 games the other day. And then ended up going 2 for 4 in the game where that streak stopped. I mean, he's been a monster lately on offense. So if they can keep those kinds of things going, they'll be okay. But I think losing Sale, who was starting to pitch pretty well, is going to hurt them. Whitlock's pretty good. Their bullpen, Jansen's been pitching lights out, but Justin Turner's been a great fit in Boston.
Oh, Turner's been nice.
Yeah, he's been a great fit. He's murdering people, but without pitching, they're in trouble. So we'll see what happens there. Detroit, I think, is been a bigger mess than they thought. I think everybody thought they would contend, but Minnesota hasn't been as good as everybody thought. Of course, Kansas City's terrible in that division. They're just awful. So at Central could be, the White Sox are still in the hunt, as are the Twins, because the White Sox aren't tearing it up like everybody thought. So Cleveland's playing pretty well, but again, not as good as everybody thought. Out west, Texas did make some free agent moves and they're paying off a little bit, but the Angels are hanging around. Oakland's absolutely awful, and that's by design. That's the Philadelphia process team, I think. I don't want to say they're tanking, but they got people playing like fish. They're tanking so bad. It's awful. Seattle's playing pretty well. Not great again, but pretty well. So they're in the hunt. I think that's a 3-team division with Texas, the Angels, and Seattle. I think that's all that is. Well, Houston too. Can't give up on Houston either.
Because Otante, I mean, they could get a boatload for him. So I mean,
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to trade him because they came out and said that the other day because they're still in the hunt. So, as long as they're in the hunt, they're going to keep Otani. So, and probably just hope Trout wakes up and that Rendon can stay steady.
I mean, if he's not MVP, I mean,
Otani, oh, he's got to be. He's got to be.
come on,
Even right now, he's got to be. To me, there's nobody else even close. Especially now, Judge has been hurt, so he's missed time. So if Otani doesn't miss time and they stay at the same level right now, then you got to give it to Otani because nobody else can hit like he does and pitch. He's not the best pitcher in the league, but he's the best pitcher on the Angels staff, and that's what's keeping him in the hunt. So, and he's good. He's good on the mound. He's great at the plate. When you can have your pitcher bat and not have to use a DH, that's looking great. So, yeah, in this day and age, he's already done stuff Babe Ruth never did when he played both ways. So he's phenomenal. Red Sox have a good young Japanese player as well who's starting to come around, I think. So that seems to be the way to go. They play great baseball in Japan, and they're gonna, their bigger stars are going to do well, as we already saw with Ichiro for years. And Yankee had Matsuzaka, who played well. You get duds, you get a couple guys that didn't do great, but that's the same anywhere. So, but I think you're looking in the AL, there's no clear runaway runner like there has been. Houston's still in the hunt. Seattle, the Angels, I guess the White Sox. I don't know. Tampa. To me, right now, team-wise, Tampa might be the team to beat in the AL. I just think they're really good. In the NL, the Braves are playing well. Nobody's really sticking out in the Central. Cincinnati's playing pretty good baseball right now. They're still pretty hot right now. I think they're still on a winning streak, or if they lost it, they were winning like 7 or 8 in a row, or 9 in a row, I think it was. And then they might have finally lost. but they're picking up. I think they're going to be in the hunt if they keep playing the way they do. They got a couple really good young players. And out west, you can't knock the Dodgers out, but Arizona's a surprise, and I think San Diego's hanging around. So it's going to be interesting, Bill. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting season. Now, how do you think the new rules are playing out? The pitch clock, the bases, the bigger bases,
Oh, I haven't
no
really,
shifts.
I haven't really followed too much. Been busy, but I think the bases have helped out, especially with stolen bases. I mean, you have guys already with believe close to 20 stolen bases.
Yeah, you got some guys that are really, really taking advantage of the stolen base thing.
And
Philly's got a disappointment in Trey Turner because he's not hitting the ball, so he's not getting on as much as they thought he would in steal bases. But that could change second half of the season. Harper's back, but he's not hitting for power yet. But he is hitting for average. He's still driving in runs. Alec Boehm has been hurt. He's back in the lineup, but he's driving in runs for Philly. Not a power guy necessarily, but he's last I knew he was leading the team in RBIs.
see, the Phillies, I think they still, you can't have Schwarber batting leadoff. He's batting 180.
I know it
He hits a bomb here, he hits a
here and
bomb.
there, but I don't
You
think he's
got to
hitting
take it.
200. Last I knew he was in the 190s, and that's because he was hot.
Yeah.
But Turner didn't work out in the leadoff spot. I thought Stott was okay, but then he took a bit of a nosedive. So I think they're desperate to find that leadoff hitter. So they're like, well, at least Schwarber might give us a 1-0 lead once in a while.
Yeah,
I mean I think that's their only hope is that Schwarber can deliver again there. I mean, he did lead the National League last year in home runs, hitting in that leadoff spot.
yeah.
But if you don't get guys on base in front of him, he's not going to be able to deliver RBIs. Like I said, I don't think he's hitting 200. If he is, it's because he just got hot. Because I know last week, 2 weeks ago, he was in the 170s.
The highest he's been is 191, I think was
Yeah, I thought I saw 192, but you might be right. Let's take a look. I'm gonna look now because I'm just curious. Kyle Schwarber, years 30, he's 30. Stats, right? Let me hit his stats right now and see what it says. 187 right now for his career batting average. Take a guess.
218.
To what?
218.
Oh, you're a little low, but not by much. He's hitting 229 for his career. So he's never going to hit for average ever. But it's all power. Last 5 games, he was 0 for 5 against Atlanta yesterday. 2 for 5 the other day. That's pretty good. He was 3 for 4 against Oakland, but that's Oakland. 1 for 5 the day before that against Oakland, and 1 for 4 the day before that. But the one for 4 was a home run. Again, a leadoff home run, but a solo shot. I mean, to me, he's the king of solo home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, it's but I can see why the Phillies and Thompson are desperate because nobody is really doing anything at the top of the lineup. I mean, I'd consider putting Stott back up there.
I would do that, or hey, he's not hitting the long ball, but why not Harper?
Yeah, unless Harper doesn't want to do it. But you might be right. Because if a couple of those bottom guys get on, Harper would be a nice addition to have coming up in that number 1 spot. And the Cardinals did it with Mark McGwire his last few years, and that worked out pretty well. I think you're right. Harper could be a good option. And he's not hitting the long ball at the moment, but he is getting on base. He is hitting the ball.
Getting on
So he's
pace.
going to drive in some runs, and he's got good wheels. Why not? That's a good thought, actually. But I'm sure they've thought of it, but maybe he doesn't want to do it, or maybe they want to sort this out. But that would be good to put him one, and if it's a righty, maybe Stott two, or keep Turner two and Stott three. I'll tell you who hit really well last year in the three spot was Bone. That's where he came into his own.
Yeah.
And then put Schwarber in that four hole. He's a cleanup hitter. He's your power guy.
Yeah.
And go from there. Harper, Turner, Bohm. Maybe once in a while switch Turner and Bohm, switch Turner and Stott, depending on
Yeah.
righty lefty,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a good idea. I think it could work. Right now in the East, I think Atlanta's gonna eventually, if they haven't already started, to run away with it. Philly, if they keep plugging away, could get to the 2 or 3 spot like they did last year. I think the Mets are in trouble. Miami might keep surprising people. They're a nitty gritty team. They really are. Then who've you got? I mean, you look at the Central, not anybody's setting the world on fire, I don't think, out in the Central. What do you got? The Cubs and Cincinnati's playing okay. Pittsburgh, they're hot and cold. Pittsburgh will win 8 in a row and lose 9 in a row. They're just not, as they say, they're not good. So the Central doesn't look like anything spectacular. Out west, Colorado, no. Arizona's playing better than everybody thought, but can they keep it up? And San Francisco's not as good as people thought, I think. You got the Padres and the Dodgers hanging in there. I think the Dodgers will wake up. I think they've been hit by some injury stuff.
Yeah.
But I think losing Justin Turner is a bigger loss than they thought. So yeah, Dodgers could stay in the hunt, I think. I do like the Padres and Arizona. If they continue to play like they are, they could make the playoffs. I just don't see them winning the division. I think the Dodgers will eventually, cream could rise to the top there. Kershaw's been having a pretty good season. I think they need to keep having that pitching. Betts is still playing well, long as they don't get too many injuries. But I think it's Atlanta. I think you got to look at the Braves.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the best team in the NL. Wouldn't surprise me if it's the Braves and Tampa in the World Series. It wouldn't surprise me at all. And that could be a really tough World Series.
Yeah.
So Atlanta's pitching's pretty good. But that's a ways down the road, my brother.
Yeah, a lot of baseball left.
Yep. So because we've got technical difficulties, unless you have something else, Billy, I'm gonna go ahead and say let's sign off here, because it's a little hard to hear you right now. So I'm sure if it is for me, it's going to be hard for everybody else as well.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good, buddy.
And we'll let you sort out the technical issues. And if we get any drastic changes in the sports world, we'll be back next week. If not, look for us in a couple of weeks. We'll sort out Bill's technical issues as well as mine getting on. So we'll see what happens there. But we want to thank everybody for tuning in. We've been a while. We will be back fairly soon. And remember to look out for other Public John shows. The Public John podcast is going to make a reappearance, as it has probably about a month ago. We've had a couple of guests on. We're going to try and do that way, as well as Cooking Up a Murder And Public John Radio, I think, is going to be back, or at least make an effort again. We want to thank Dennis again at Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland. Their phone number is 856-690-9482. And Dennis and the crew, again, will help you with all your residential and business property needs. Give them a shout out at 856-690-9482. That's Vineland Realty Corporation. Ask for Dennis or Helen or any of the folks down there that can give you a hand. Up to you, Bill, if you got anything else to add to everybody here as we go away.
No, it's nice to be back and looking forward to getting some more shows in more often.
Sounds great, pal. We'll try and get you back your volume there at your end, at the technical end. We thank everybody for tuning in from the Cheap Seats. For Billy Smith and G Dog over here, the producer, and everybody, we say thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you soon from the Cheap Seats. I'm John Harris. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night, and we will be going from there. Good night.